choice, a mint lime tea by Yogi Tea. It's organic from the bottom of my cupboard. And it comes with one of those notes. It says, "Look to that inner strength to walk tall and be happy." Okay. I wonder who writes those things. I don't know. But you know what I do know is that it's June. I don't know how it's June. Many things I don't know today. But that means that I have a lot of books to talk to you about. Tend to be exact, quite a bit of romantasy and like romance stuff, some fantasy, some nonfiction, some arcs. Let's just get started with the very first one. The first thing that I read in May was Underland by Robert McFarlane. This is a nonfiction that is written by a professor of creative writing at Cambridge, possibly Oxford, one of those fancy British schools. It's kind of one part travelogue because he is physically traveling to these different places and meeting with like scientists studying dark matter, like different landscapes that have been marked by violence in the 20th century, caves that have their own weather system in China, and then lacing through it poetry and mythology and like literature related to the underground, if that makes sense. Every person that is in the book feels like a character. He writes in such a visceral, engaging way that I loved just like reading a little bit of this before bed. And I feel like the information and the things that were shared, there was just enough that we covered all of the interesting parts and then we moved on. I talked about this also in my nonfiction favorites video because I think that it's wonderful and everybody should pick it up. And like I said in that video, in the hands of a lesser author, the different stories and moments in this book might feel incredibly disjointed because there is so much variety and we jump around quite a bit. A bit of an odd or unexpected book, but I really enjoyed it. So that's Underland. So I also read Labyrinth. I have talked a little bit about how I'm kind of on a medieval kick, but I haven't found the thing that scratches the itch completely. This book got me like halfway there. It is a hunting down the Holy Grail, Da Vinci Code-esque type of book where we're following two different timelines. One is a woman who's working on an archaeological dig and she discovers two skeletons and this labyrinth, or like an engraving of a labyrinth, and gets kind of pulled into this whole history and mystery around it. There's people like hunting her down and trying to also uncover the secrets that are in this burial chamber, I suppose. A lot of burial chambers this month, I'm sorry guys. The other timeline is, I want to say like 1100 or 1200, and we are following a young woman who is part of the Cathars. I think it's a little bit of a mystical sect, or was, of Christianity at the time, and they are obviously the ones that have a connection to the labyrinth. And our girl back in time is also having an experience of being pulled into this world around the hunt for the Holy Grail that she didn't necessarily ask for or want, but there's just so much at stake that there's really no choice and people are hunting her down. It's I think that it had a little bit of issues with pacing, particularly in the beginning. This author obviously loves the part of France that it is set in. She spends a lot of time giving you history and details and information about it that, if you really love France or are into this area of history, then you will probably get quite a lot out of it. The thrillery part really doesn't pick up so much until you're maybe like halfway to 60% through, and then it's quite fun. Okay, what else do we have? I read an arc. I forgot to mention, actually, I read Labyrinth, Vampires at Sea, which is the next book I'm talking about, and the one after it, The Call, a short story in a reading blog, which I will link down below and probably up here. So Vampires at Sea, it's an arc. It's kind of novella length. I think it's like 180 pages or something to that point. It's a weird book, okay? We are following a vampire couple. They are going on vacation on this cruise, and it's like Rebecca and Hugh, they kind of have an open relationship, but Hugh is really taken with this person they meet named Heaven, who is like an influencer and sort of very extra and flamboyant. And Rebecca is extremely jealous because she's an energy vampire. She doesn't drink blood. Very much What Would You Do in the Shadows sort of reference. the author, even in the acknowledgements, mentions that she was a really big fan of that TV show. So Rebecca specifically feeds off of like attention from people. She's very much a narcissist, very deep in her feelings. This book is much more of a character study about all of her feelings. Some of them are quite violent, angry feelings. Some of them are really like, she's kind of all over the place. So the whole time you're kind of playing this game of following Rebecca while she's having all of this jealousy and this kind of conflict with her relationship with Hugh, and wondering like how delusional is she about this heaven person, because she becomes really convinced that there's something a little odd about heaven. Super weird ending, kind of a weird book. I really enjoyed it. There is a lot of smut in it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's smutty. Different kind of smut. I feel like I'm flying through this today. After that same vlog, I read The Call by Rita. This is a short story, and it's a contemporary dystopian retelling of Joan of Arc. Check your content warnings if you've been having a hard time with it lately, because all of the reviews say it is too close to home. I have to agree. That's really all I think that I can say about it without spoiling it. But it was great. I think if you want, I enjoyed it a lot, and I can't say anything else about it. So The Call by Rita. Oh yes, okay. Then I tried something different. I think it's a YA book. Not sure. Little Thieves. I picked this up because I heard that it was really funny. I also just realized that this is crooked. It's driving me nuts. We are following a young woman named Vanya. She is basically at birth given away by her mother because she's the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter type of thing. She must be bad luck. Her mother then gives her away to the goddess of death and the goddess of fortune. They have kind of demanded a price now that she is kind of an adult for her care. She doesn't want to pay that price, so she's kind of making her way without them. She becomes a servant, kind of working in the hall, and she does this by taking the identity of a princess and robbing all of the nobles for all they're worth. The only thing is that this world is rife with gods, and she gets cursed by one of them for stealing, and to slowly turn into gemstones herself. So she'll have like a ruby pop up on the side of her face or something like that, and everyone's like, oh, it is the latest trend. And all the while she has to figure out how to end this curse while also not getting pulled into her godmother's crap. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed this. I haven't read YA for a really long time. I think it reads kind of upper YA except for some of the humor. There's a certain like level of innocence with some of the humor. It will appeal also to a younger audience. I loved the voice. It is a medieval German setting. I've heard tell that it is also a retelling of The Goose Girl. I'm not familiar with that story at all, so I really can't speak to the similarities versus not of that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. There's critiques out there that say that, it's a little bit too slow, it kind of lags, but I think because of the voice, and I never had to push myself through to continue reading it. There was always something happening that you could tell was a slow build to some of the problems, and it is quite funny. It's fun. It's a fun book to read. So Little Thieves, I do recommend it, and it kind of ended in a way that I think you could read it as a standalone. I don't know if I will continue with the series. I have heard things about the later series from YouTubers pretty recently that have me kind of unsure. So yeah, if you've read book 2 and 3, let me know how you feel about, I hear the time jump, the relationship, all of that stuff. I'd be really curious because I'm not sure if I want to just kind of like leave it with, that was a great time, thank you very much. Little Thieves. Okay. Then I read The Dark Mirror. I can't see my own like manic face in my camera. This is book 5 of the Bone season series. It will be a 7-book series. It is an epic dystopian. A woman gets kind of caught up in opposing this totalitarian, authoritarian, controlling regime, gets put in a prison camp in book 1 and discovers the truth behind it, and like everything breaks open, and then it becomes this sort of epic fantasy that is set in our world. Our main lady, Paige Mahoney, and the whole reason that she gets put in the prison camp is because she is an unnatural, so she has sort of clairvoyant powers, and the Republic of Sion, this regime really hates people like that, and so they try to get rid of them and impress them in any possible way. Book 1 is mostly set in Oxford and London. Book 2 is London. Book 3 is like Edinburgh and Manchester. And then book 4 we like go to France. This one we are all over the place. So much has happened, and we have 2 more books, and I'm kind of losing my mind. There were reveals in this one that had my jaw on the floor. I haven't felt this desperate to read a series in ages and ages, like maybe since Harry Potter. It's really high praise, okay? Yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I do also want to say that if you have read Samantha Shannon's Dragon series, this is a very different vibe. There's lots of like queer rep and everything, and there's like a wonderful slow burn romance all the way through this, but the pacing is really different. This is like super fast paced. All of the books are like bomb, 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 bomb. Paige is really funny. It's like, yeah, I don't know how to even... I don't know how to like encapsulate how I feel about this. Every time I try and film about this series, I just start rambling about how great it is, and we can move on now. That's The Dark Mirror. After that, I read Whiteout. This is a romantic suspense, and it's set in Antarctica between a cook and a scientist. He, of course, has like no social skills at all, and he does very important, smart things with ice. She, as a cook, she went to Antarctica to escape herself and her past and restart her life after a terrible breakup or something like that, of course. Plot or suspense part of this is very Mission Impossible-y. So there's some people who want to steal ice samples for an unknown reason. The intro of it is just so dramatic. Then like the big fat middle of this book is them trying to survive and escape and falling in love, staying in a tent, trying to cross like Antarctica to get to the next safe research station with these ice things. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I think I just haven't read a real good romantic suspense in a little while, and this was very fun. It was a perfect palate cleanser, actually. There was a cliffhanger related to the ice that means I probably will read the next one next time I need a palate cleanser, but a little cheesy at some points, especially around the villain. Feels like you're reading a movie and that you mostly are with this couple, but then you'll jump over and like see the villain's perspective where she's like talking on the phone like, you get them now kind of thing. And yeah, it's a little cheesy sometimes, but it's fun. And no more cheesy than a lot of those sort of action movies are. So Whiteout. After that, I read 7 Days in June, which I did not think that this book was going to be the way that it was, and I loved it. I think because the cover is so different from a lot of contemporary romances right now, I thought it might be leaning a little bit more women's fiction, and I wasn't sure. This is about 2 Black kids that lived in New York, and they both kind of come from troubled homes. They are a little bit neglected when they're growing up, but they meet each other when they're both kind of in a really high crisis moment, run away together, and they basically squat in this house for 7 days in June and fall in love together. But you only see that in like little flashbacks because it's a second chance romance, and you're seeing them fall in love all over again in the present day when I don't have either of their names written down, but like the woman has a kid. I actually didn't mind the kid being in this romance. It was totally fine. I liked her as a character, actually. A big surprise for me. Mom is a author, and Kai is also an author, but he, writes serious fiction that's about people suffering and like the resilience of human nature. And she writes vampire smut. But the thing is that they have been like talking to each other through their books for 15 years. And they both know it too. So when they first meet by accident at this conference, he's like, Eva, stop writing about me. And she's like, you stop writing about me? It's so good. It was so good. I think just the intensity of emotions and the depth of emotions, because she is exploring so many different things and mixes the heavier topics with like humor and fun and sexiness really, really well. I loved it. And for once, I think that the kid in this book actually added to Eva's, I'm remembering her name, Eva, added to Eva's character development, because part of her arc is about giving her daughter a different kind of life than she had. And she has so much growth and development around that, and the way that that intersected with like the romance and like her relationship with this guy. It was so good. It was just like the perfect amount of obsession and crazy and tenderness. The last 2 books that I read this month were part of Fate Inked in Blood series duology. That's the name of the first book. So I reread the first book because I needed something, and I realized that A Curse Carved in Bone was about to come out, so I did the reread. This is a Viking inspired romantasy. It has really cool magic, and I think I like it more than I like most romantasies because of the magic. So really quickly, the certain characters or certain people in this world will have like a drop of God's blood, and that allows them to then call on their supernatural parentage to use their super cool skills. So for instance, there's like one guy that can summon a flaming hammer at any time he needs to bash someone's skull in. And then our main girl has the shield maiden, the shield goddess, and she has had to hide the fact that she is the shield maiden for most of her life because there is a prophecy about whoever controls the shield maiden controls her fate. And so Freya, our main girl, is exposed one day and marries some old jarl who then tries to control her fate and thinks that he's going to become king because of her power. She falls in love with his son. So I really enjoyed it still. I did not enjoy it as much as the first time. I think the novelty just wasn't quite there in the same way, and the things that I found annoying the first time that I read it, I found extra annoying the second time that I read it. And most of my criticism is around the guy, because he really doesn't say anything of substance. It is always flirting. His whole personality is just like, I'm a very sexy guy and I know you like it. And it's just like, but why do you like him? But why? Does he have a personality beyond narcissism? Because I am not personally aware of it. Book 1, I really didn't see what she liked about him beyond his big magical axe. And the twist at the end is pretty predictable. But if I found the twist at the end to be pretty predictable, I did not predict the twist in the middle of A Curse Carved in Bone. And I feel like that kind of made up for it. So after the events of book 1, Freya is kind of vindictive. And I like vindictive Freya way more than Freya trying to learn to control her own fate. Because vindictive Freya is quite funny and quite bitchy. I liked the romance to plot ratio a lot more, and meaning that I think there was a little bit more plot. But I'm just a little bit annoyed with how long it took her still for this in the series to feel powerful. I wish that that had kind of come about a little bit faster. A Curse Carved in Bone, I think that there's definitely some Return of the King inspiration in this series. There are multiple points where I'm like, it feels like we're under the mountain right now. This feels like, I won't spoil it, but there's a few scenes where I'm like, I think I know. But overall, I like the series. It is fun, pretty fresh considering a lot of the romantasy that's out there, and pretty well written. So that is everything I read in the month of May. And I can see that my thing filming me right now is overheating, so I think it's time to say goodbye. Really quick video without a whole lot of extra chatting today, but if you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a lovely day wherever and whenever you are. Bye!